Hi there, this is Afro Perspectives. I'm back again, and I have to apologize for the absence. The last time I did a post was about 10 days ago, and I have to admit that I've not been feeling very well. And so if you were expecting uh, an update on developments and at least from my perspective. So I have to give my apologies. I have been under the weather, and I've just been recently for the past 2 or 3 days. I've been trying to catch up with social media on X, on Facebook, and the general newspapers, that sort of thing, trying to catch up to see what's been happening in my abs and what is of relevance to the Southern Africa. And I mainly focus on issues to do with Zimbabwe, and I will only comment on issues that I think they have a bearing on prospects of democratic change in Zimbabwe, prospects of real change, and the issues to do with the lack of democratic governance, issues to do with the dictatorship that we are experiencing, and how the Zanu PF dictatorship is impacting, has got a negative impact on the whole region. So within the past 48 hours, there has been the recent presidential election in the United States, and there were two main candidates, Kamala Harris for the Democrats, and then Donald Trump for the Republicans. As it stands right now, it appears, well, it's done and dusted anyway. Donald Trump has won this election. For a candidate to win an election under the American presidential system, they use what is called the Electoral College votes. That is, I think each state they send two delegates to what is called the Electoral College vote. So what they do is they vote directly for a candidate, and a candidate who gains the majority in a state, that state sends two delegates to what is called an Electoral College vote. So as it stands right now, like I said before, for a candidate to win an election, they ought to have at least 270 electoral college votes. And Donald Trump, out of the votes counted, there are 75,974 votes. That is 51% of the votes. And he has got 277 electoral college votes. So 51% of the electorate, that's a majority, and he has won this one. So Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States, and Kamala Harris has got 224 electoral college votes, and that translates to 66,347,022 and 22 votes. That is 47.5% of the votes. So there's only a small percentage that's remaining, and probably that's to do with things like just ironing out a few discrepancies, that sort of thing. But this is done, so you can actually see for yourself. So for those of us who are familiar with how Zanu PF conduct its elections, they are over 100 million American voters, and for those 100 million American voters, the elections have been counted state by state. So you have each state the electoral officials in each state counting the votes, and then they declare the votes. And it's been a seamless operation. It has been declared in real time, And you can contrast that with what the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, what it does, where it sits on the results. Then they take the results, they put them on the side, then they give out the figures they would want you to believe they are the Zanu PF candidate as one, and then they actually allocate the rest of the votes to whoever is campaigned against the Zanu PF candidate. So this is a direct contrast to what we normally experience, and it has been declared that the winner, Donald Trump, has already been declared winner, at least from the votes that have been declared. And then Kamala Harris herself has actually considered that she has lost this election, although she's saying she's not going to attend the ceremonies to do with Trump declaring his victory, that sort of thing. And then from a Southern African perspective anyway, Emerson Mnangagwa has come out and he said, oh, congratulations to President-elect at real Donald Trump on your election victory. The world needs more leaders who speak for the people. Zimbabwe stands ready to work with you and the American people to build a better, more prosperous and more peaceful world. Well, this is an irony to say the least. What prosperous or peaceful world would someone like Emerson Mnangagwa be prepared to build? These people, they have looted Zimbabwe, they have destroyed Zimbabwe, they have plundered the whole country. We are back to the Stone Age. We are behind in the region, if not all of Africa. If you look at statistics for development, things like the Human Development Index, Zimbabwe is in the bottom with countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, and places like Malawi. We have got a lot of mineral riches. We have got wealth. But that wealth is only used to benefit right now Mnangagwa and a few members of his family and those who are close to him. So there is really nothing to report home about. And for Emerson Mnangagwa to congratulate Donald Trump, yes, the Zanu PF is comfortable with the Republicans. Donald Trump, from his earlier first term, they know very well Donald Trump focus on American issues, is inward looking, is not like the Democrats. So they expect at least Donald Trump to focus on American issues instead and leave them alone. But then I think it's too premature. The opposition in Zimbabwe, they're not saying anything about this. They're not. Instead, the opposition to Emerson Mnangagwa coming up with such utterances, it has come from somewhere, from abroad, from South Africa. Musi Maimane. And Musi Maimane has actually said that one thing Donald Trump must avoid is dictators in Africa who do not win elections, but instead abuse their people and destroy their economies. And then that has not gone down well with Zanu PF. Its Director of Information, Farai Maramba, has said, oh no, Musi Maimane should concentrate on South African issues. He's an Uncle Tom, he's a stooge, a puppet of the Americans. And he's basically gone on Twitter and he said that our voters can see that we are bringing change to Zimbabwe. As long as we listen to our voters, we are relevant, we are doing our own thing in Zimbabwe. So that's Farai Maramba. And Farai Maramba, I didn't know that Farai Maramba is now the Director of Information in the Ministry of Information. I was under the impression that Nick Mangwana does this sort of thing where he bring out these sort of statements. But then with Zanu PF, they never fire people, people like George Charamba. They are simply put to the side, or they are simply allocated lighter duties. Like Charamba is not actually giving out any statements at all. All he does, all he is paid to do is just to put out statements on Twitter or write statements on Twitter. And it's not even under his name. It's under some assumed name Jamanda, something like that. So this is what happens, and you can imagine the duplication of duties. You have got Farai Maramba, you have got Nick Mangwana, you have got George Charamba, and I think there is someone else who is acting as a spokesperson for Zanu PF. I think it's anyway Mtambuzi, that sort of thing. He comes up and he's got, they are, I correct me if I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong on this, you can just leave a comment in the comments box below. But I think there are 3 or 4 people in Mnangagwa's government who have got this title of Director of Information. Farai Maramba, Nick Mangwana, anyway Mtambuzi, George Charamba. These people, they are all doing the same sort of thing. But then, like you, what everything else with Zanu PF, it's a gravy train, and they're not really worried about whether the person is delivering the goods or whether they are actually competent. At least with the propaganda ministry, with the propaganda portfolio, like what they do here, they would want someone who is effective, and that Farai Maramba, well, I'm not a fan of Zanu PF. I don't endorse their policies. Their policies have brought hardship on the rest of Zimbabweans, and I think, but then if someone is good at whatever they do, Farai Maramba is good at whatever he's doing. Whatever he's defending for Zanu PF, their policies, though Zanu PF is an evil organization, I wouldn't want myself to be associated with praising Zanu PF and that sort of thing. So yeah, so this is what's been happening with Zanu PF, and Zanu PF. I think their celebration of the Trump win is too premature. For a start, the ZICRA, it doesn't matter which administration is in power, whether the Republicans or the Democrats, it's still they are still going to take a tough stance on Emmerson Mnangagwa. Remember, recently, Emmerson Mnangagwa was himself put under sanctions. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets and Control, and it's Emmerson Mnangagwa, his wife, the Constantino Chiwenga, and then people like Walter Tafumane. They have been all put under sanctions. So they cannot celebrate. Donald Trump, I doubt if he is going to lift sanctions on Emmerson Mnangagwa, because the issues they are doing, in fact, Emmerson Mnangagwa is going to be under a lot of scrutiny, and I think it's you'll get more of these measures taken against him, because unlike in most countries, the United States government, most of the issues that the Americans adopt as policy against other African countries, especially countries like Zimbabwe, it's not to do with the president himself. It comes from members of Congress, the equivalent of member of parliament, say, in the Zimbabwean context, and people who have got interest in African countries. These are the people who bring out issues like sanctions against Emmerson Mnangagwa. So it's too premature for Emmerson Mnangagwa to actually celebrate. And then the other issue is that Zanu PF is actually destabilizing the entire region, the entire Southern African region. So whoever is going to Donald Trump, whenever he takes power, he is going to be faced with the same problem we have, say, in the Middle East or in places like the Great Lakes region, in the DRC, Uganda, Rwanda, that sort of places. Zimbabwe, Southern Africa, with Zimbabwe at its center, is presenting the same sort of problems to the international community. And you have seen yourselves, Botswana conducts an election, and then the winner is declared, and the winner happens to be the opposition candidate for the opposition, Duma Boko. And then it takes Emerson Mnangagwa a whole day. He goes owl. He is not actually issuing out a statement. And then even when the statement came, it came from someone else. I think it was George Charamba who crafted the statement. And then you contrast this with the in Mozambique, where it took them, where even without the results have been declared, Emerson Mnangagwa had already congratulated Daniel Chapo. And these are the sort of things ZANU PF is using, is destabilizing the entire region. There are riots in Maputo right now. 11 civilians, according to reports in the press, 11 civilians have been killed in places like Maputo. Doctors, nurses, they are on strike. They are protesting deaths of civilians, and because what the president said in Zimbabwe, where we have countless elections that have been stolen since 2000. All those elections ZANU PF has participated in, they have been rigged. They have been the recent election in 2023. It was stolen, and everyone, the SADC itself, there is a report that actually cites all manner of irregularities. And now the irony is that what we now have is we have ZANU PF as the SADC chairman. And what the Emerson Mnangagwa is proposing is that is on the 16th of this month, next week thereabouts, SADC is going to hold an extraordinary summit of head of states to discuss, according to information in the Herald, they are saying they are going to discuss the election, the riots in Maputo and the election in Mozambique, and then they are going to discuss the outcome of the election in Botswana, and then they are likely to discuss the election in Namibia, the upcoming election in Namibia. And it's, if it were another country, if it were someone else with a better record than Emerson Mnangagwa, these sort of meetings would have credibility. But if you have got someone like Emerson Mnangagwa, what do we get out of such a meeting? It's actually endorsing, it's setting a bad precedent, and Emerson Mnangagwa is taking SADC on a downward spiral with himself, and it's this is just what we have come to expect. There is no leadership at all. SADC is becoming a club of dictators, and you have got the disputed election in Mozambique, and the instability that has been brought by the riots, and it's going on and on and on and on and on. Right. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to this discussion, and if you appreciate the content that I have just provided, please just share and like. Thank you. Bye.